We're living in the world of social media where we're made to feel like spending money is fun. And if you mention saving money, that's boring. Live a little, treat yourself, you only live once. That's what we're constantly told. I'm a mom of two in her 30s who used to be a shopaholic and overspend every single month. Then I slowly became more of a minimalist and being more intentional with my purchases. There are a few boring habits I learned that make a big difference between staying broke versus creating quiet but real wealth. Not buying is my second source of income. In my 20s, I never budgeted. I never even thought about that. And I think once you start making your own money, it gets very exciting to start spending it as well. And it sounds really fun, buying new clothes and makeup and lots of things like that. But once I sat down and I started doing a bit of budgeting, I'm not an expert by far at this, but I've started tracking my expenses every single month. So just looking at my bank account and seeing what goes out every month. What did I spend my money on? How much added up at the end of the month? And doing this really made me realize that you could be having hundreds of dollars or pounds going out of your account on simply shopping or buying things that we don't truly need. And that amount of money can actually be almost like a second source of income. So for me, it's not about being super strict with a budget or living a super frugal life, but it's just about being more intentional and really being aware of where my money is going. Because I think, that awareness is always the first step to making a change in a positive direction. Unexpected money goes into savings. Especially as a self-employed creator business owner, my money can fluctuate each month. So I kind of have a rough idea of how much I'm going to make each month, but there will be months where I will make more than that. Maybe I have more work that month, or I launched a new product or something that increased my income for that particular month. And what is very tempting to do when we do have an increase in income is to use that money to buy stuff. And I have learned that actually if I really wanted to create wealth for our family and, just to be financially comfortable and flexible and reach our goals of, maybe paying off our mortgage early, then I really need to be more intentional with what I do with that money. So sometimes if I have an influx of money like that, I'll just pretend I didn't get it and just put it in savings or, have it as a backup to give us more flexibility versus just spending it straight away on treating myself to, a designer bag or whatever that might be. And I always find it funny when you listen to the radio, sometimes they will have prizes, right, for winners, and they will say, oh, this week you won, £100,000 or however much their prize pool is for that week. And they will ask the winners, how are you going to spend that money? Are you going to go on this dream vacation, like once in a lifetime vacation? I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that. But I think for most of us, for the average person, having that amount of money used in a different way, like for example, paying off your mortgage or paying part of your mortgage so that your monthly expenses are lower, or putting it in savings, or maybe investing or doing stuff like that will actually increase your quality of life and give you a lot more flexibility than going on a vacation. And maybe giving you that flexibility means you will be able to work less or, work more on projects that you actually want to work on. And I think for me, that's what I try to think about. And that's the kind of things that actually improve the quality of your life. I feel like I sound a bit like Ross here.
And if I win, I'm going to put it all into a very low yield bond.
That's it. It is boring, but it's stuff that actually makes a difference. Not always buying new. This is one of my intentions right now. But when I do want to buy something, especially if it's clothing or things like that, I will try to look for it pre-loved first. Because there are so many items you can find pre-loved in great condition and sometimes new condition. Like, people have bought them and kept them in their wardrobes but never truly wore them. And you can get them for a fraction of the original price. Not to mention that it's more sustainable and better for the environment. It can also save us a lot of money. And this is how I have found pieces for my wardrobe that I've bought that I truly love wearing. And I bought them for half the price or maybe even less than that. And they're still in great condition. Increase your income sources. Think there's only so much you can cut out of your budget to increase your savings. And sometimes earning more can increase our flexibility, obviously. And I know it sounds very simplistic, but for me, getting my little side hustle as a creator to grow into an actual full-time business took one thing.
Going viral, right?
Nope. An email list.
Isn't that kind of boring?
Maybe it sounds boring, but it actually works. Now, of course, there are a lot of steps that go here, but creating that direct connection to your audience is one of the best things you can do. There's less worrying about algorithms. And Bravo is a platform that can help you achieve just that. Thanks to Bravo for sponsoring this part of the video. Bravo is a solid platform that's a bit all-in-one. It offers things like email marketing, and I mean, if it's good enough for IKEA, it's good enough for me. That sounds complicated to set up though. I promise it's not. Bravo truly simplified marketing. And when sometimes my only working hours are my toddler's nap time, this is something I truly value. Bravo is not just for email marketing though. If you're a content creator or a small business owner, you can use Bravo to send SMS, to create marketing automations, to track sales, or even to use WhatsApp to drive growth in your business. You can create things like custom messages or emails, and I think when you truly take the time to understand your customer and give them personalized help, that's when your business will really grow. If you're ready to simplify and up-level your own business, redeem Madeline 50 to save 50% on their starter and standard plans for the first 3 months. And this only applies to new paying customers. Thanks, Bravo, for supporting my channel. Think cost per wear. Can you see my kids' Magnetiles in the background? No. Perfect. Looks like I have perfectly clear floors all the time. I don't. Cost per wear or cost per use is something I was introduced to maybe a year or two ago, and I've never looked at it the same. Because when I buy a piece of clothing, I really start to ask myself, how many times am I going to wear this before, you get bored of it, or maybe it doesn't fit anymore, maybe it gets ruined, or, it's just not usable anymore. And for me, this has really made me be more intentional with the amount of items that I purchase, and also making sure that the items in my wardrobe are things that I actually wear, because then I will get that cost per wear down. And it's the same with things like makeup or beauty products. Am I actually going to use this product up and use it all the way, or am I just gonna not enjoy using it and then throw it away half empty because it wasn't that great of a product? Or maybe if we buy a cheap plastic utensil, for example, that just breaks after a few uses, then it's not really a great cost per use because it will have a very short lifespan versus paying something that's maybe a little bit more pricey but that actually lasts for a very long time. So these are just a few things that I really started to think more about, being more intentional with what I purchase, and also making sure I actually use the items that I own. Have proof of concept. I have started using this proof of concept for my purchases, and it's really changed how I think about shopping. Whenever we start something new, like maybe we start running or going to the gym, working out, or maybe we start a new business or start creating YouTube videos online, the first thing we often think about is, what can I buy to motivate myself to do this? And that's what I used to do. I used to think that I need to buy an expensive camera, buy new gym gear. But I noticed how sometimes buying a ton of new gym gear or workout gear is not really going to motivate me. And instead, what I've started doing is I start working out with the things that I already have, with the things that are already in my wardrobe. I already have some leggings and sports tops. I can just use those. And you can start simple, start working out consistently, and then I can reward myself if I've done this for a few months, for example, and I've stuck with it. I can reward myself with a new piece of gym gear if I want to, because then I kind of have proof of concept that I'm actually sticking to this new habit or hobby or whatever it might be, instead of just being excited about buying items to support that hobby. Because sometimes I feel like I used to use this as an excuse to shop. I used to think, oh no, I'm going to start this hobby, so now I need to go out and shop for things. But instead, using it as a reward has worked so much better for me to actually help me stay consistent with this. Like, for example, for my YouTube channel, I've told myself that once my channel starts making a full-time income every month, then I will use some of that income to invest in a new camera, a fancier camera that I'm using right now. But it's always best to have that proof of concept first, to prove to yourself that you actually want to do this before we start investing in a lot of gear or a lot of things that we truly don't really need in the beginning. And one step back has also worked great for me. It sounds so simple, but when I do feel like shopping, I feel like buying an item, I will put it on the wish list. And it probably sounds so boring, it is, but it really works, because giving yourself a step back means you're going to be more intentional with your purchases. And I cannot tell you how many times I've put things on my wish list thinking this is such a cool item, I really want to buy it. And then if I look at it a week later, because you're in a different emotional state, you're not in the same state of mind, it can sometimes be like, I'm not that excited about it anymore. And if I had purchased the item, I would probably have the same feeling, but now I would have spent that amount of money on it. So something as simple as a step back for a few days can can just make a world of a difference in how you're spending your money. Use up before buying more. And this is something I apply whether it comes to makeup products, skincare, anything like that. I will make sure I use my mascara up before I buy another mascara. I'll use up the bronzer before I buy another one. And if you've ever done a project pan or anything like that to try to use up the products you already have, you will notice how long it actually takes to go through a product. And for me, what I've learned from doing these project pan kind of things is that I need less. Like, I don't need a ton of products because realistically, I probably won't use them up before they go bad or before I don't like them anymore. And so having just one product in each category means I will actually use it up. Like having one set of eyeshadow instead of having 5 different big palettes means I'll actually use up that eyeshadow and also get my cost per use very low as well. Check your fridge. When I started meal planning, things really changed for the better because I started really being intentional with the items I purchased in our food shop, making sure we actually eat them. There's a lot less waste every week because we actually eat what I buy. It's not a complicated system. It doesn't take that long. Every Sunday, I will sit down and pick 5 meals that I want to make the following week. Those are going to be our dinners. And then I'll buy some other things that we get like regularly, you know, eggs, milk, stuff like that for breakfasts and lunches. Sometimes we'll have leftovers for lunch as well. And this way, we've actually cut down our waste a lot. And I always make sure that I check our fridge and our cupboards before we get to the food shop to see if there's anything I can maybe make a meal out of. Like if we have something left over, like if we have a lot of potatoes we haven't used from last week, maybe I can, you know, incorporate that into a few recipes this week. And we spend a lot less on grocery shopping than we would if I would just impulsively buy whatever I fancy that week. Overpay on your debt. And that can mean credit cards, loans, your mortgage. That's what we currently have. We don't have any credit card debt, but we do have a mortgage. But what I've learned from having that in the past is that the best way you can pay it off is to make overpayments. So not just paying the minimum amount that you owe that month, but making pays over that. And I know that's easier said than done, but sometimes we spend money on things we don't truly need, like new house decor, new clothes, or a lot of other things that maybe are not truly necessary. But if we make overpayments on our debt, that can actually make such a huge impact on our life because being debt free is truly freeing. It makes life less stressful and it gives more room for flexibility if something unexpected happens. And that's one of our goals, pay off our mortgage early. That's kind of something we're working towards. It's not going to be easy, but yeah, scroll less. And I know this is probably one of the most boring points I can make, but going on things like TikTok and seeing TikTok shop items and all of these things can actually make us buy a lot more products than we truly need. And I don't really use TikTok right now myself. I tried it a few times in the past, and whenever I go on it, I just feel like it kind of scrambles my brain and I see a lot of content that maybe when I go on Instagram I don't see. I don't know if my Instagram feed is maybe a bit more curated with things I actually like, you know, decluttering and minimalism. But when I go on TikTok, my feed is just crazy and it doesn't make me feel good. So yes, I mentioned TikTok shop, but this can go on all the platforms out there because the content that we watch actually influences us a lot. So for me, I'm trying to be more intentional with how much I scroll and also the type of content I consume. So I have kind of curated my feed on YouTube and Instagram, and it's a lot of, you know, being debt-free kind of content, personal finance, having a clutter-free home, all of that kind of content that's actually inspiring to me. And I think it helps improve my life. And it also helps you save a lot of money. Let me know what other ways you use to save money. I think that would be really interesting to have kind of a helpful resource in the comments. Thank you so much for taking time to spend with me today, and I will see you in the next one.